Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Aisha Spearman. I have a resume writing and career coaching business based in San Francisco, California. I'm so excited to discuss with you further, section by section. This is the second video in a series that goes in depth regarding what you need to put a resume together, what it's going to look like, the finished product, and then how you can go about verifying that all of the information is correct, all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, that sort of thing. So I encourage you to go to my website to find out more, www.workinggirlsresumeservice.com. Okay, now let's get started. So first off, we want to verify the contact information is correct, meaning your name, email, and phone number. Some people or some writers have their opinions about where the contact information should go. Another popular opinion is to place that information in the body of the document. In my particular view, I feel like you should put that information in the header. Next, we're going to talk about the objective. So that's also another controversial topic, apparently. Some writers feel like the short summary is outdated. I am a bit more old-fashioned and believe that things like cover letters are making a comeback. So I think it can't hurt to have that short summary of transferable skills, your relevant background, and why you want to join the organization at the top of the resume, just to kick things off and get the conversation started. Next off, we're going to talk about relevant skills and technical expertise. So depending on your industry, depending on your trajectory for the next position that you're applying for, you're going to want to hone in on those soft skills, whether it's you are good at time management, budget allocation, if you're in finance, works well with others, that sort of thing. If you're more on the technical side and there's certifications that are needed for a particular role that you're going to be pursuing, you want to make sure that you mention that there. It's really surprising to me the last few resumes that I looked at did not have a skills section. So I think it's really pertinent that you have it on the resume. That way, if you're able to get through the ATS system or you have a direct contact at a particular company, that they can easily cross-reference your skills with the job description. Next off, we're going to touch on education. So with education, depending on what your career path is, if you've been out of the education world for some time, it might make sense to leave it off because you want to focus on what your relevant work experience is, how your different skills will be relevant for a particular position. So I'd say if within the past 10 years or so, it's fair to leave the education plus the year attached to it. What happens is after time goes by and you leave that on the resume, there is ageism, unfortunately, when it comes to hiring. I don't agree with it, but other companies or recruiters abide by that, certain rules there. So you might want to leave it off the resume if it comes to that. Next off, we're going to cover awards and honors. So a lot of times I see this missing from the resume, and I like to encourage people to think about what were some of the highlights at the positions they were at during their career. It may not necessarily be a plaque, so to speak, but maybe you want to think about if you're in sales, marketing, customer success, there were different ROI goals that you were meeting quarterly or on a yearly basis. Maybe you received a bonus one quarter. Things of that nature could be really helpful. So for work experience, you want to focus on your most recent and relevant work history. What tends to happen for people who have been in their career path for some time is they have more than 10 years, more than a decade of relevant experience. So they have a hard time cutting out some of that older experience there, but I want to encourage you to think about if there are particular projects Any highlights that you want to showcase from those older positions, you can put that in a separate section for projects or accomplishments, if you will. That might be more relevant just to make sure that you're keeping the resume at 2 pages roughly. I think that can be a struggle for some people. So if you need help with that, feel free to reach out to me and we can work on that together. And last but not least, I want to talk about volunteer work. This is going to be pertinent for people in college, people who are just starting out in their career, who may not have as much paid work experience as somebody who's a supervisor or director, right? So I encourage people to incorporate the volunteer work with paid work history, such as internships, unpaid work, you name it. Some of us like to do things as a hobby, so maybe there's some kind of cross-referencing there, and you can include that as relevant work history, so to speak. I also see volunteer work a lot with people who work in the nonprofit, charity, donor sphere of things. So a lot of times they like to keep that on the resume as well. So this is an example of a chronological resume format brought to you by Indeed.com. So this particular example stood out to me. I thought it was a good representation of what a standard resume looks like. More often than not, resumes that I work on, follow this particular path. You might notice some changes though, based on what we just talked about. So for instance, this objective is titled Summary. The professional history is listed above the education and skills. So depending on who you talk to, depending on your trajectory, your resume might look a little bit different. It may not necessarily follow this particular path. I prefer to have skills above work history. I think sometimes skills are more pertinent than the actual work history itself, in my view. That's my take there. And more often than not, people are going to have more than 1 page of experience. You're probably going to have a couple sentences for the objective, more than 3 or 4 bullet points for each position there. This might be a college student, which is why it's on the sparse side. So I just want to encourage you to know that this is just a starting point and a very short description of what your resume is going to look like. Well, that's all I had for you guys today. I'm curious to know what you thought. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That's the thing on YouTube these days. And also, if you have any remaining thoughts or feedback that you want to share, make sure to put that in the comments below. And I look forward to potentially working with you in the future. Have a great day.